Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. I've done solo hikes for years. It's my way of clearing my head, getting away from buzzing phones, city sirens, and people. The woods, they don't talk back. They just listen. They accept you. That's why I was out there, alone in the Cascades. Mid-autumn, the kind of cold that sneaks into your bones if you stop moving. The trail was silent, save for the crunch of frostbitten leaves under my boots. That's all I needed, just the sound of my steps and the occasional crow. I've been walking for about 4 hours when I saw him. A man, maybe in his early 40s, sitting on a boulder right beside the trail. Tan jacket, jeans, and boots. He looked like any other hiker. Average build, scruffy beard. But what stood out was the way he watched me. Not suspicious, not friendly, just too still. He smiled as I passed. That tight-lipped, polite kind of smile you give a stranger you'll never see again. I nodded, muttered, "Hey," and kept moving. Didn't think anything of it. But then, maybe a mile further, I saw him again. Same man, same tan jacket, same boulder, exactly the same. At first, I thought I'd loop back, but I hadn't. I'd been walking in a straight line, following the markers. I even checked my GPS. Still heading north. I slowed down. He looked at me again. Smiled again. That same expression. The same exact smile. Nothing had changed. Not even his posture. It was like a scene repeating itself. "Nice weather," he said. His voice was low, steady. It didn't fit his face. It was too smooth. Like a recording. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. I didn't respond. Just kept walking. Faster. I made camp before sunset, far enough off trail to feel hidden. I didn't want to be found. Something about that guy was gnawing at my brain. Deja vu, I told myself. Maybe he had a twin, or maybe my mind was messing with me. Happens on long hikes. Loneliness plays tricks. But deep down, I didn't believe any of that. The woods had changed. The stillness felt different now. Heavier, like I was being watched. I tried to sleep early, zipped myself into my bag and shut my eyes. But sleep didn't come easy. I'd drift off, then snap awake, heart pounding, certain I'd heard something. A twig, a footstep. Then, at exactly 2:13 a.m., I heard it. Branches snapping. Not like a raccoon or deer. This was heavier, slower, measured. Someone was walking around my tent. I stayed still. I want to believe it was nothing, that if I didn't move, it would go away. But the snapping kept going. Closer. I reached for my flashlight and unzipped the tent just enough to peek out. And there he was, the same man, standing just outside the ring of my campfire's dying glow. He wasn't moving, not a single twitch, just staring, right at me. His face was lit in patches by the embers, and it looked wrong, like wax held too close to heat. The skin didn't sit right. The smile was still there, but now it stretched too far. His lips pulled tight over his teeth, which didn't seem to end, like there were more than there should be. Rose, maybe. I grabbed a rock and hurled it. It hit the ground near his feet. He didn't flinch. Then, without warning, he turned around. But his face didn't. It stayed fixed toward me for a moment longer, as his head turned and the rest of his body followed, like the features were being dragged, reluctantly, across his skull. It wasn't a face. Not really. It was something wearing a face, like a skin suit that didn't quite fit. He walked off into the dark. No sound, no more branches snapping. I sat there, frozen, until daylight. At first light, I packed my gear and hiked back, pushing through exhaustion and fear. Every sound made me jump. Every shape in the trees looked like him. I didn't stop until I reached my car. I didn't tell anyone what happened. Not my friends, not the rangers. What would I say? Hey, I saw a man whose face wasn't real, and he followed me in the woods. No one would believe it, but that's not the part that haunts me most. The part that haunts me is this. I still dream about him, standing in the dark, smiling, and in the dream, I'm never camping. I'm at home, in my bed, and he's still standing just outside the glow of the light, watching, waiting. And when I wake up, sometimes, I find dirt on my bedroom floor. Story 2. They told me not to go. Locals with missing teeth and blank stares. Gas station clerks who looked at me too long. And even the old woman who sold me a map at the visitor center. Each one gave me the same look when I mentioned Gravewater Ridge. That quiet pause, like they were deciding whether to lie, or just let me walk into something I wouldn't come back from. Trail's been closed for years. One of them said, too many go missing. Some come back. Not quite right. But I didn't care. Honestly, I wanted something to happen. Anything. After the breakup with Mia, I felt like a hollow version of myself. I wasn't suicidal. Not really. But I was looking for something to shake me. Maybe scare me. Remind me I was still alive. So I packed my gear, turned my phone off, and told no one where I was going. The trailhead was marked by a crooked wooden sign, almost rotted through. A faint path snaked into the woods, more animal trail than hiking route. The trees here were tall, black-barked, and tight together. The kind of forest that always seemed to be watching you. At first, it was peaceful. The sound of boots crunching leaves, birds overhead, a squirrel darting past. I welcomed the silence, the fresh air, the distance from everything familiar. I must have hiked 6 or 7 miles before things changed. It started with the silence. Not the kind you notice right away. This was a slow drain. First, the bird song stopped. Then the wind. Then my footsteps. I kept walking, but I couldn't hear a single crunch beneath my boots. Even my breathing felt muffled, like I was underwater. The whole forest was holding its breath. Then the whispers began. At first, I thought it was wind, a trick of the trees. But no, they had words. Sharp ones. Soft like someone standing just behind me and speaking directly into my neck. Why did you leave her? How could you hurt her? Liar. I froze. My heart raced. I spun around, but there was no one. Just the woods, still and watching. I took a shaky breath and forced myself to keep walking. The path became harder to follow. The trees closed in. My legs started to ache, but the whispers didn't stop. If anything, they grew louder, angrier. You don't deserve to leave. She cried for you. You're just like the others. By the time I made camp, the sun had dipped low, bleeding red through the trees like something had died behind the hills. I didn't dare light a fire. I didn't even unzip my sleeping bag all the way. Just crawled in and curled up like a scared kid. My knife clutched in one hand. And then footsteps. Not an animal. No four-legged shuffle. These were 2 feet, pacing slowly around my tent. Crunch. Pause. Crunch. I held my breath. My heart was pounding so hard I was afraid it would give me away. Then came the breathing, right beside me. I swear, I felt it against the nylon. Shallow, slow, like someone trying to match their breath with mine. I wanted to scream, move, run, but my body wouldn't listen. I was paralyzed. The whispers came next. This time, inside the tent. Join us. I don't know how long it went on. I must have passed out or fallen into some kind of waking dream, because the next thing I remember was daylight and the trees. Every tree around my campsite, dozens of them, had the word liar scratched into the bark, deep, like done with a knife or claws. My gear had been tossed around, but nothing was missing. Not my food, not my pack, not even my knife. I left it all. I ran, for hours. No trail, just instinct. My legs cramped, and I fell more times than I can remember, but I didn't stop. Not until I reached a ranger's outpost on the edge of the county road 2 days later. They took me in, gave me water, asked questions. I didn't answer. What could I say? That something in the woods whispered my guilt back to me. That shadows walked like men. That I felt the voice of my ex curling through the trees, accusing me, mourning me. I haven't told anyone, but sometimes when I lie in bed at night, I still hear them, soft, under the hum of the ceiling fan, beneath the silence. They're waiting, and they remember me. Join us. Story 3. They say Glacier National Park is one of the last true wildernesses in America. A place where the land still feels untouched, where you can walk for days without seeing another soul. That's exactly what I wanted. Just me and my pack in the wild. No noise, no people, no past. It was late September, just as the air began to bite and the trees gave up their green for fire and blood. I've been hiking for 4 days when I came across the fire tower. I hadn't planned on it. It wasn't marked on any map I had, but there it was, standing tall like a ghost of another time. 3 stories of old wood and rusting steel, perched on a ridge like it had grown out of the mountain itself. There was a plaque near the base, half eaten by moss. Something about the tower being decommissioned back in the 70s. No trespassing. Unsafe. Weathered letters carved into metal that no one had read in years. I climbed it anyway. The stairs groaned beneath my boots, but they held. And when I reached the top and opened the creaking door, I felt like I'd found a little piece of heaven. The view stretched forever, mountains rippling into the horizon like frozen waves. Below, a sea of trees whispering secrets to the wind. The inside of the tower was dusty but solid. A cot in the corner, a desk bolted to the floor, and against the far wall, a rusted 2-way radio with a cracked speaker. I laughed when I saw it, half expecting it to spark to life like something out of an old horror movie. I should have left the second I had that thought, but I didn't. I made camp, ate a protein bar, watched the sun sink behind the peaks, bleeding red and gold into the sky. Then I crawled into the sleeping bag and let the quiet take me. That's when the radio crackled. Not loud, just enough to make me sit up, heart ticking faster. I stared at it, still plugged into the wall, still very much dead, as far as I knew. Then it spoke. You shouldn't be here. The voice was low, male, calm, like someone telling you the weather or giving you directions to the nearest gas station. I blinked, waiting for more. Nothing, just a soft buzz of static. I laughed it off, of course. told myself it was picking up a rogue signal, maybe a trucker nearby, or a ranger screwing around on an old frequency. I leaned over and flicked the switch to OFF, even though I was pretty sure it already was. Then I heard it again, only this time, not from the radio. It came from outside. You shouldn't be here. The same voice. Closer. Real. I froze. The tower walls are thin. Old wood and loose nails. You can hear everything. And what I heard then was footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Climbing the stairs. One creaking step at a time. I grabbed the knife from my pack and waited, barely breathing. The footsteps reached the landing outside the door and stopped. I stared at the doorknob, willing it not to move. It moved anyway. It didn't turn all the way, just rattled like fingers were testing it. Not in a rush, not trying to break in, just checking, as if whoever or whatever was out there wanted to see how much fear it could wring out of me before it came inside. I stood there for what felt like an hour, muscles locked, eyes fixed on the door. Then a single knock. Knock. Soft. Gentle. Polite even. Like a neighbor dropping by for a cup of sugar. And then the sound changed. A metallic scrape. Like a knife or a claw dragging along the outside of the windows. Windows that were 3 stories above the ground. I don't remember getting back into the sleeping bag, but I must have. I lay there the rest of the night, shaking so bad my teeth hurt. I didn't dare move, didn't dare scream. Whatever was out there wanted me to do both. Eventually, the sound stopped, but the silence that followed was worse. It felt thick, unnatural, like the woods were holding their breath, waiting. At sunrise, I stepped outside. Nothing. No footprints on the stairs. No scratches on the glass. No evidence that anything had ever been there. But I knew what I heard. I knew what I felt. I hiked down in record time. Didn't stop to eat. Didn't stop to rest. Just kept going like if I moved fast enough, it couldn't follow me. When I reached the ranger station at the edge of the park, I told them what happened. Not everything, but enough. One ranger, an older guy with white hair and the kind of face that seen too much, listened without blinking. When I finished, he asked, "Which tower?" I pointed it out on the map. He didn't look surprised. "That one's been abandoned since '76, he said. Lightning took out the comms, and a hiker went missing the same year. Never found the body." I swallowed hard. Do people talk about it? He hesitated, then said, "You're not the first to hear voices." Then he added, "But you were the first to make it out after staying the night alone." I never went back to the mountains after that. I still hike sometimes, but never solo, and never anywhere near Glacier. But every so often, I hear static in my ears, in the middle of a quiet night, or while I'm out in the woods with friends. And sometimes, just faintly, I hear a voice whispering through it, "You shouldn't be here."